Attackers left unpunished. Every year, hundreds of rape kits submitted to police go untested.
The CBS4 problem solvers investigating the major flaws in Indiana's system that leaves victims vulnerable and potential sex offenders out on the street. Here's Jill Glavin.
My research revealed serious inconsistencies in the way the state handles rape kits like this one. A statewide audit has pointed to a net number of kits, nearly 2,600, but I found that number is off by thousands.
What we have in here.
Joyce Moss is a sexual assault nurse examiner.
We'll use what's called a rolling technique.
Her full-time job is to collect these kits and hand them over to police.
We document any injuries we find. Last year was our busiest year.
What can feel medical and sterile is far from it. These kits represent people, sexual assault victims like Eileen Potenza and her daughter Allie.
It was violent, it was brutal, it was very demeaning.
In 2013, 6 men broke into the Potenzas' home. For 2 hours, they terrorized the family. Allie was sexually assaulted by multiple men. Eileen shot twice trying to escape, forced to drive to an ATM, and sexually assaulted in her car.
And then I remember waking up in a room full of people in my hospital room.
When it was over, a nurse collected a rape kit.
You want to say anything to the victims?
Police quickly caught the suspects, and they were later convicted.
We have a society that's shifted.
We were kind of a high-profile case. There was a lot of news around this, and maybe that was not typical of the way it always happens.
Our CBS4 Problem Solvers investigation found that to be true. Across Indiana, hundreds, if not thousands, of rape kits are being collected each year. But no one can tell you exactly how many.
It's just kind of a mess. We have a statute.
Lori Gray with the Indiana Coalition to End Sexual Assault says state laws have precious little to say about the kits and what to do with them.
The statute that we have is inconsistent.
We've not done this before.
The state released its first ever audit of untested kits last year, but I discovered that audit is incomplete and inconsistent. About half of the kits had no clear reason they weren't tested, and almost a third, 31%, were listed as no crime or false report. That's troubling since various national statistics estimate only 2 to 8% of reports turn out to be unfounded. Even more concerning, Marion County only reported 1 year's worth of numbers.
And I understand from an audit standpoint.
So I went to the person who compiled the data to get a more accurate number.
At this point, do you know how many kits you have?
Our estimation is around 6,500.
Commander Kevin Wethington with IMPD tells me it would be a monumental undertaking to figure out how many of those 6,500 are untested.
We know we've had to expand our property room because we're growing in our size of number and quantity of these kits.
And the problem goes even deeper. The Marion County Forensic Services Agency showed us how they examine each kit using these training materials. Their lab is responsible for all testing in Marion County, but numbers they provided to police show only a fraction are even open. The numbers speak for themselves. In 2015, the county collected more than 400 kits where a victim agreed to report the crime. Of those, less than 100 were tested, only 24%. Over the past 20 years, that number has hardly changed. The highest it's ever been was still only 34%.
I understand that looking from the outside, it does seem like that's a low number.
Major Craig McCart heads up investigations for IMPD. He worked most of his career in sex crimes and defends the numbers, saying kits are only tested if detectives believe they'll help in investigation. He and Wethington both told me they'd welcome a more consistent approach statewide.
If Crime Lab had unlimited resources and we had unlimited resources, then I mean, we'd love to test every kit just on the chance that, you know, that maybe that one time we might find something out. But I think that would be difficult to do at this time with what we have.
I still don't know what was worse.
It's not too difficult for the state's second largest county, though. Earlier this month, Lake County near Chicago announced it will start testing all of its kits unless a victim asks to stay anonymous.
I would like to see the policies across the state be pretty much universal.
State Senator Michael Kreider, who launched the original audit, is now working on a statewide tracking system. He agrees with advocates who want to see every non-anonymous kit tested in case it could identify serial rapists or reopen investigations.
To me, that's just a basic logic. We should do everything we can to test every kit that's appropriate for testing.
can be very hard.
For Joyce Moss, who spends her days face to face with the people behind the kits, and for Eileen and Allie Potenza, the hope is that Indiana recognizes it's time for change and that this time, that change will come soon.
I believe that patients are demanding a little more, demanding a little better.
Talking and getting help are critical, and we have to do all we can to open the doors for people.
Well, Bob, right now there are more services than ever available to victims, but sometimes it can be hard to find them.
Well, there is a state law, though, which says that counties have to establish these sexual assault response teams, correct?
Yeah, and I looked into that. We found that despite that law being on the books for a decade, a lot of counties don't have them yet. Also in Marion County, they never established a written protocol, though they meet once a month, and the statewide sexual assault response team has yet to meet this year.
I know you've been investigating this for months, Jill. We're really just scratching the surface here.
Absolutely, and we want to make sure that people know that if you or someone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, we did put a list of resources and places that you can go. That's at this story on our website and also on the CBS4 Indy app.
It's a great resource. All right, Jill, thank you.